How to tell when your dog apologizes to you. Have you ever caught your dog doing something they absolutely knew they were not supposed to do, only to stay silent and watch them act completely different a few minutes later? Maybe it was your favorite shoe. Maybe it was a sandwich that mysteriously disappeared from the kitchen counter. Maybe it was a pillow that somehow exploded into a blizzard of white fluff across your living room. Whatever it was, the moment always feels the same. You discover the mess. Your dog discovers that you discovered the mess. And suddenly, something changes. The tail slows down. The ears soften. The eyes become cautious. The room becomes quiet. And eventually, every dog owner asks the same question. Are they trying to apologize? Or am I imagining it? The truth is surprisingly emotional, because dogs do not apologize the way humans do. They do not sit down with you to have a serious conversation. They do not explain their side of the story. They do not promise to do better next time. In fact, your dog probably has no idea why a chewed shoe is different from an old tennis ball. To them, both smell interesting. Both fit inside their mouth. Both seem completely reasonable. Yet somehow, even when they do not fully understand the object, they often understand something else. You. And that changes everything. Dogs spend thousands of hours studying their humans. Far more than humans study dogs. They learn the sound of your footsteps, the rhythm of your voice, the way you open the front door, the difference between your happy face and your tired face, the difference between your playful voice and your serious voice. Over time, you become their entire world. That means when something feels wrong between you, they notice immediately. That is why many dogs do not react to the broken object. They react to the change in you. A few years ago, a man came home after a difficult day at work. Nothing had gone right. Traffic was terrible. His boss had been difficult. He was exhausted. The only thing he wanted was a quiet evening. Instead, he opened the door and found his dog sitting in the middle of the living room, surrounded by pieces of a destroyed couch cushion. The stuffing covered the floor, the rug, the hallway, even the dog's head. For a moment, the man just stood there, silent. Then he sighed, not loudly, not dramatically, just one tired sigh. And the dog's entire body changed. The excitement disappeared. The tail slowed. The ears dropped slightly. The dog did not run away. Instead, he simply watched, watching the man, watching his face, watching his eyes, as if searching for an answer to a question only dogs ask. Are we still okay? That is the part many people misunderstand. Dogs are usually not worried about the cushion. They are worried about the connection, because relationships matter deeply to dogs, much more deeply than most people realize. That is why many dogs start acting differently after a mistake. They may follow you more closely than usual, not because they are trying to avoid punishment, but because they are trying to understand the emotional distance they suddenly feel. You walk into the kitchen. They are there. You move into the bedroom. They are there too. You sit on the couch. A few seconds later, they quietly sit nearby, not demanding attention, not asking for food, just staying close, as if closeness itself might repair whatever feels broken. And maybe, in their world, it does. One of the most touching things about dogs is that they do not need complicated solutions. Humans often turn small problems into huge emotional events. Dogs tend to do the opposite. When something feels wrong, they move toward connection, not away from it. Have you ever noticed your dog gently touching your hand after you have been upset? Not pawing, just a soft nose touching your fingers. For 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, then nothing else. It is such a tiny gesture that most people barely notice it. But dogs use physical contact differently than humans. To them, touch can mean reassurance, comfort, safety, belonging. A simple nose touch may be their way of saying, I am here. I still trust you. I do not want distance between us. And perhaps the most surprising part is this. Dogs often offer these gestures long before humans are ready. A human can hold frustration for hours. A dog can spend 5 minutes feeling uncertain, then immediately start trying to reconnect. Because dogs do not like emotional distance. They do not like tension. They do not hold meetings in their heads about who was right and who was wrong. They simply want the bond back. That may also explain something owners often call the guilty look. You know the look, the lowered head, the soft eyes, the careful expression, the body that suddenly seems smaller than usual. For years, people assumed this expression meant guilt. But researchers discovered something interesting. Dogs often show this behavior not because they understand guilt the way humans do, but because they recognize your reaction. In other words, they are responding to your emotions. Not the crime scene. The destroyed shoe does not bother them. Your disappointment does. Think about that for a moment. The pillow can be replaced. The shoe can be replaced. The sandwich can be replaced. But in your dog's mind, the relationship cannot. That is why they keep checking your face. That is why they stay nearby. That is why they quietly wait for your voice to soften. They are looking for signs that everything is okay again. Sometimes they even bring you something. A favorite toy, a tennis ball, a stuffed animal they have carried around for years. But maybe it is not. Because when humans want to reconnect, we often offer something meaningful. A gift, a hug, a kind word, an apology. Dogs only have a few ways to communicate, so they use what they have: their presence, their trust, their favorite possessions, their attention, their love. And maybe that is what makes a dog's apology so beautiful. They are not really saying, "I was wrong." They are saying, "You still matter to me." The slow approach, the careful eyes, the quiet closeness, not because age makes them guilty, but because age makes them value connection even more. And perhaps that is the real answer to the question we have asked. How can you tell when your dog is apologizing? Look for the moments when they choose the relationship. Look for the moments when they move closer instead of farther away. Look for the moments when they offer trust after tension. Look for the moments when they quietly ask, "Are we still okay?" Because that question, more than any behavior, may be the closest thing a dog has to the words, "I am sorry." And the most emotional part of this story is still ahead. Because there is one final thing dogs do after a mistake. Something so simple that most owners overlook it completely. Yet once you understand it, you may never see your dog the same way again. How to tell when your dog apologizes to you. There is one behavior that almost every dog owner has seen, but very few people understand. It usually happens after the tension has started to fade. The shoe has already been cleaned up. The pillow stuffing is already back in the trash. The moment has passed. And then your dog makes a choice. Not because they have to, but because they want to. They choose you. Out of every room in the house. Out of every toy on the floor. Out of every available distraction. They walk toward you and simply stay there. No demands, no expectations, no agenda, just presence. That may be the closest thing a dog has to saying, "I still want to be with you." And when you think about it, that is what most apologies are really trying to achieve. Not proving innocence, not escaping consequences, but restoring connection. Dogs understand connection better than most creatures on Earth. That is why they often forgive faster than humans. A dog does not spend 3 days replaying an argument. A dog does not sit in another room planning revenge. A dog does not keep a list of your mistakes. Imagine how different the world would be if humans did the same. One moment something feels wrong. The next moment, they are already looking for a way back to you. That is why another sign often appears after a mistake. The trust test. You may have seen it without realizing what it means. Your dog approaches, then lies down beside you, not facing away, but facing toward you, relaxing, exposing their chest, sometimes even exposing their belly. To humans, that may seem ordinary. To dogs, it is not ordinary. A vulnerable dog is a trusting dog, a dog that feels unsafe protects itself. A dog that feels uncertain remains alert. A dog that feels safe relaxes. So when your dog chooses to become vulnerable around you after tension, they are communicating something important. And dogs give it to us every day, every time they sleep beside us, every time they follow us somewhere unfamiliar, every time they look to us for guidance, every time they choose our company. Trust is one of the most valuable things your dog owns. So when they offer it again, after a difficult moment, pay attention. That gesture means more than many people realize. Have you ever noticed your dog watching you from across the room, waiting for the moment your expression changes, waiting for the moment your face relaxes? Then, the instant it happens, their entire body changes too. The tail begins moving again. The ears lift slightly. The eyes brighten. It is almost as if they were holding their breath emotionally, waiting for confirmation that everything is okay. And maybe they were, because dogs are emotional observers. They spend years learning the tiny details of our behavior, the sound of our laughter, the way we sit when we are tired, the way we walk when we are stressed, the way our eyes look when we are sad. Most people underestimate how carefully dogs watch them. But dogs rarely underestimate humans. They notice everything. That is why your reaction matters so much. A dog may not understand why the shoe was important, but they understand that it was important to you, and that alone changes how they respond. Sometimes, after a mistake, a dog will bring you something, not because they are asked, not because they are trained, just because. A tennis ball, a favorite stuffed toy, a rope toy that has been chewed 1,000 times, something valuable to them. And while we cannot know exactly what is happening inside their minds, as if they are offering a peace treaty, a small gift, a reminder that the relationship matters. Dogs communicate affection differently. Then there is perhaps the most emotional sign of all, the waiting, not following, not touching, not bringing toys, just waiting, quietly, patiently. Many dogs will sit nearby after a mistake, watching, listening, giving you space, but never leaving completely. That behavior tells you something important. Your dog is not trying to win an argument. Your dog is not trying to prove that they are right. Your dog is waiting for the relationship to feel safe again. That may be one reason dogs have such a powerful effect on humans. They care about connection more than being right. Because humans often do the opposite. We defend ourselves. We explain ourselves. We justify ourselves. Dogs simply move toward the people they love, again and again, even after mistakes, even after misunderstandings, even after uncomfortable moments. And maybe that is why so many people feel emotional when they think about their dogs, because deep inside, we know how rare that kind of loyalty really is. A dog does not love you because you are perfect. A dog does not love you because you always make the right decisions. A dog does not love you because you never lose your patience. A dog loves you because you are you. And when something disrupts that bond, they often do everything they can to restore it. Not through language, through behavior, through trust, through presence, through choosing you again. And that brings us back to the question we started with. How can you tell when your dog is apologizing? Look beyond the mistake. Look beyond the object. Look beyond the mess. Watch what happens afterward. Does your dog move closer? Do they check your face? Do they offer gentle contact? Do they stay nearby? Do they bring you something meaningful? Do they choose trust instead of distance? Those behaviors may not be an apology in the human sense, but they may be your dog's way of saying, "You matter to me. I do not like this distance. I want us to be okay again." And perhaps that message is even more beautiful than a simple apology, because it comes from the heart. The next time your dog makes a mistake, do not just look at what happened. Look at what they do next. You may discover that your dog has been trying to say sorry for years, just in a language that does not use words. And if you have ever seen your dog gently come back to you after doing something wrong, Leave a comment below and tell us what happened. Because every dog has their own way of saying, "I still love you." And if you want to understand the hidden emotional world inside your dog's mind, subscribe, because sometimes the most important things dogs tell us are the things they never say out loud.